to piano lesson number 40. So today I'm going to be talking about direction. So what does that mean? Well, in this lesson, I'm going to be showing you how to go from being a beginner in piano and how to basically get to the area that you want to be in piano, whether it be advanced, intermediate, composer, and whatnot. Now, I'm not going to be able to cover each one in detail. I'm going to try to brush in broad strokes because I can't just make like a 3-hour-long video on that. But, well, I guess I could, but I don't think I have enough spare time to spend 3 hours on that. So I'm going to try to condense all the important information into as much time as possible so that you guys can go step by step by step into figuring out how to get from here to there. I'm trying to do this backwards so you see left to right, but for me it's right to left. Anyway, okay, so let's get started. The first thing I want to cover is that this lesson is basically for people that are trying to learn the piano by themselves online. Now, some of you might even already have teachers, some of you don't. Getting a teacher is actually pretty important, I'd say, if you can, because they can sit down at the piano with you, they can show you different things, they can make sure that, like something I get my students sometimes to do is put their hand on top of mine so they can feel how I'm moving, and instantaneously, usually they pick it up. So those are like the kind of like the physical things, and being able to see the student practice something and play it and give them feedback real time and create a custom plan. So those are some of the benefits of having real life lessons. So if you can, down the road, if you want to go far, I'd say get real life lessons because they will help. But if so far you're just trying to see, test the waters and see what your interest is, or maybe you don't have enough money, or you don't have a teacher in your area. So if you don't have any of those things, don't have the opportunity, then so this is where we're left off with. So with that in mind, let's move forward. Okay, so you are trying to be the student and the teacher at the same time. Now, you do have the teacher, like me, teaching you things, but then at the end of the video, when it turns off, then you're like, okay, well, now what? So he just taught me minor scales. Now what do I do with them? So there's all this information flying at you, but you don't really know how to organize it and how to attack it, and how to get step by step by step by step from point A to point B. So where you are in piano as a beginner, or wherever you are at right now, to where you want to be. Okay? So that would be what you're trying to do by getting some direction. So it's not a really easy thing, but I do have some ideas for you guys and some things to talk about. So let's get into that then. Okay. So the first and most basic thing that I really think you should be looking towards doing is you need to ask yourself some questions first. Questions and planning will really help basically give you some direction. So what you want to do is you want to get somewhere in piano, but until you ask yourself where do you want to get to, how do you know what you want to get to and what you need to practice to get to that area, if that makes any sense. I'm kind of rambling a bit tonight, but just stick with me. Hopefully you can. Okay, so this is what I'm saying. We need to have goals. Okay, goals are important. So we need to break it down like this. You need a life goal. I know this sounds kind of cheesy. So you need a life goal. So the life goal would be basically where you want to get to in piano and what sort of things you want to accomplish. How high of a level do you want to get to? What kind of instrument do you want to play on? Do you want to compose? Do you want to be a performer? Do you want to be a teacher? Do you want to just play for yourself and your own enjoyment? Do you want to play just for your family? What kind of stuff do you want to play? Do you want to play pop? Do you want to play jazz? Do you want to play classical? Do you want to see all these questions? So what I would say is pause the video right now, go get a piece of paper and write down all the things that you would need. Okay, so pause, and I'll just wait for you to go get your piece of paper and pencil. Okay, you back? Okay, so now on that piece of paper, I want you to write life goals. Okay, for piano, I guess you would put. Then, underneath that, you'll probably have to brainstorm for a bit. So, after this video is done, I want you to go through this and fill out this piece of paper so you have goals on it. So, 1, you need life goals. Then go down a little bit and make sure you have enough room there and space it out. So then go to a yearly goal. What do you want to do this year to reach your lively goal? So where do you want to be in the end? Where do you want to be this year? So 1 year from now, where do you want to be? Okay? Then, so you could say, well, I want to be able to play hands together and sight read basic things and know how to read notes. Now, that's fine. You could have something else. It depends on what you want to do and how far you already are. So that might be too easy for you. So fix that the way you need to do it. Okay, now next we have a monthly goal. So what do you want to do this month? Now break down all 12 months in your head, and what do you need to do this month to get your yearly goal done? So you'll have to think of monthly. What are you going to do each month? Okay? Next, a weekly goal. So you can figure out what you need to do this week and the next week and the next week and the next week to meet your monthly goal this month. So you can say, well, if this month I wanted to learn X amount of pieces, like say 3 pieces, so this week I need to learn the first 2 lines of each 3 pieces. Okay, so now you have an idea what you need to accomplish. Now if your goal was to learn 5 scales and be able to play them hands together at the end of the month or whatever, then you would basically be like, okay, so if I want to be able to do this at the end of the month, I'm going to have to, this week, practice it hands separately, slowly, with the proper fingering. Next week, I'm going to practice it a little bit faster, hands separate, and then hands together really slowly. 3rd week, I'm going to practice it with rhythms and staccatos and doing hands separate and pretty fast now and getting the hands together pretty quickly too. And then 4th week is the go time and trying to put it all together and then getting it done. Do you see what I'm saying here? Then, once you have a weekly goal, losing my voice here. Once you have a weekly goal, then you need a daily goal so that you know exactly what you need to do. So if in week 1, you have to learn that scale. Okay, in that day, that means that you're going to have to start learning the first part of the finger pattern, or maybe that day you'll have to pick up a scale book or find out how to play that scale so that you can do it. Then the next day you can play the scale, and what you want to be able to do is meet your goal for the week, and meet your goal for the month, and meet your goal for the year, and meet for your year, and then life. Man, there's so many, it's hard to keep track. That's why I suggest a piece of paper. If it's written down, then it becomes a lot more real to you. It's like once you write it down, then you're thinking, oh, now I have to do this. But it's good because that gives you extra motivation to meet the goals that you want to meet. So only write down what you're comfortable meeting. Don't write something down ridiculous like, I'm going to be a concert pianist and play in Carnegie Hall and I'm a beginner and I'm going to do it in 3 months. Okay, because that's sort of crush your dreams, but probably not going to happen. Unless you are like retardedly good at piano, like naturally good, and I'd be like, wow. And if you can get to Carnegie Hall in 3 months, please email me and let me know, because that would be a pretty intense story to hear. Okay, anyway, back on track here. So you want the goals, and they will help guide you every day. That way, when you sit down at the piano, you can just look up what your goals are, look at your sheet, and you're like, oh, now I know what to do. It gives you a direction, kind of like a roadmap. It's kind of like, imagine getting in your car and driving without an area that you're actually planning to go to. So you're just like, I'm going to drive randomly. Now, it'd be really hard to know where you're going to end up if you don't actually plan what you want to do. And we sort of do plan when we start to learn piano what we want to do with it. But the thing is, we never really write down the steps of how we're going to get there. We're like, I want to play by ear and play some music together. But the thing is, that's so vague. If you give it more objective goals, like objective is things that you can measure, like if you say someone is 10 inches, or like an apple is 10 inches tall. Anyway, I was gonna say a person, but then that'd be too small. Okay, say you said a person was 60 inches tall. Okay, that would be an objective remark. And if you said that person is tall, that's subjective, because someone else could be really taller than 60 inches and go, that guy's short. That guy's tall. See, the same person that's 60 inches tall can be short or tall, depending on who's looking at them. That's a subjective view. So if you make your goals subjectively, then you don't really have to be accountable for them, because you can just say, oh, well, I already achieved that goal because I meant it this way. But if you write down exactly what you want to do, you want to learn this amount of scales, these scales, target them, target the metronome speed you want to hit them at, target which pieces you want to do, target the dates that you want them done by, schedule like a performance with your family or friends or kids or whatever, that anyone that you can play to, even YouTube, if you don't have anyone like that, you could record a video and say, I'm going to get it done by this date. Then you set up your goals so they all align together. And this is why I'm spending so much time on this, is because it's so powerful and it's such a very important thing that you do. Because if you're the teacher and the student at the same time, there has to be some division where you switch in between. So me as a teacher, when I'm looking at a student, usually I have written down plans for what I want to do with them for the month or the year. Usually I have a year. Like I have the name, the year, and then I break it down what I want to do with that student per month in like a kind of vague sense, and then I remember. But I have so many students that I just can't plan that detailed. But usually it works out quite well. Anyway, so I know what I want to do with them. They don't really know, unless, well, I tell them to, but the thing is, if they're teaching themselves, they're just going to do whatever, and they're not going to have any direction on where they're going, so they'll just be going way over here and up and down and yay, woo, let's play this piece, oh, let's stop that one and do this one, and they're all over the map. So you don't ever get anywhere. Like you could just wander around in circles and not get, I don't know, a couple miles away from wherever you started, even though you've walked like 1,000 miles. So direction is important, goals are important, but I have more things to say, so we will continue. Okay, so next thing. Now, here's another, it's discussing mentality now. So we have the goals. Stupid voice. Okay, I haven't been talking all weekend, and now it's like degrading, which is weird. Okay. I have a little frog living in my throat. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is you have to challenge yourself. Okay, now what I mean by this is, say you're learning a piece. Okay, it doesn't have to be a hard one, could be an easy one, anything. Okay, when you see them do something like this or something like that, why did I say this or that when I only described one thing? Oh, I'm just crazy. Okay, anyway. So say you have something that you want that's in the piece, and it's giving you a challenge, like it's hard. There's usually one part in a piece that'll be hard for you if it's, your difficulty level. So what you want to do is you want to motivate yourself to be the very best at that certain thing. To learn a piece well, it's actually not taking the entire piece at once and learning the whole thing great. No, that's not it. An example is, if you have a steak and someone serves you a steak and you say, great, this looks so good and I'm so excited to get this in my stomach that I'm just going to eat the whole thing at once. So you're just like, ah, and you shove a whole steak in your mouth. Now, how many people do you think would ever be able to accomplish this that weren't like directly genetically related to a snake? Like a snake can swallow something whole, but we have to chew it because our jaw doesn't, unclasp and go rah. It'd be kind of cool, but kind of creepy at the same time. Anyway, back on topic here. So we can't eat the whole steak at once, otherwise it just will not work. We'll choke, we'll die. Maybe we'll get the Heimlich maneuver performed on us. if we have friends that care. Otherwise, they'll just look on and be like, just keep going, just die. Anyway, I'm joking. Okay, so I guess you get my point. Okay, so the steak. Can't eat it all at once. Same thing with a piece of sheet music. Okay, you're thinking, well, I could just crumple a piece of sheet music and eat it. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if you can't learn the whole thing and take it into your brain all at once. Your brain just won't take it. Okay, especially if it's at your skill level. If it's something super easy for you, then you might be able to. But if you're gonna actually, play something that's gonna be at your skill level, so it's a bit of a challenge, but it's not so much that you're like crying in your sleep and dreams and nightmares. So basically, you need to break it down, and that's what a good piece is. It's all you've done. A great piece is like taking all the little snippets, like this phrase and that phrase and this jump and this rubato here and that pedal junction there and this phrasing shape or tempo change or staccato, all those different things, okay? All those little things are little challenges. Think of them as like side quests if you're a gamer. So you're trying to do all these little things better than everyone else, or I guess yourself, like to the very best of your ability. So what I do is I think of like the piece as like the Olympics, okay? So, oh sweet, I'm at the Olympics, nice! So you're there. And then you're like, whoa, look at this. I'm expected to compete in all these events. So I think of all these little challenges and things as different events, sort of like, the pole hopping thing and the swimming and the wheelchair, or I guess that's Special Olympics, but like the sprints and all the different events, right? So I think of all these little things as different events. So I want to be the Olympic king. So I'm like, sweet. So I'm going to be the best at all of these events and try to win gold. So what I mean by winning gold or doing the best is like being so good at each event or challenge or phrase shape or staccato that basically you can do it better than it actually. You can do a harder version of what it's asking you to do away from the music. So if it's asking you to do like a hop like that, and it's trying to, then you'll be able to do it faster than it actually asks you to do it in the piece. You'll be able to do it with staccato, and you'll be able to do rhythm, right? I'm not playing the same thing, I'm just making something random up. I don't actually have an example on hand, but this is just a general idea though, a general thing. Okay. Don't you just love how I don't try to hide my little flaws? I don't try to take perfect takes or anything, because then it's just not real. Okay, so basically, so you're going to take each little thing and make it the best. So you're going to have to do it better than it actually is in the piece. Now, why you do that is, one, is it works your technique past what you're actually required to do at the piece, so that makes it easier to learn new pieces. Plus, when you're actually playing the piece, it's so easy for you to execute because you can play it harder than it's written. It's like playing a little piece that's below your grade level now. So basically you take all those little parts, all those events, and then you string them together. And the Olympics has gone through, kind of weird voice. Anyway. So you just go through, and you just go through each event, straight through, or problem, or phrase. You string them together, and then boom. If you're amazing at every little one of those, you have a very good piece. There you go. So, challenge everything, do it to the best of your ability. Now, one last thing for these things, like mentalities. Okay, I get these two main types of people that I get messaging me. One would be the person who tries to practice everything on their own, and then in their last desperate attempt, they ask for questions, like they ask for help. Okay? Now, the other type of person doesn't try anything first, ask questions, and then usually they practice it, but then they come back and ask more questions. Now, asking questions isn't bad. Here's the thing. Whenever you do a certain way, right? I'm not saying don't ask me questions. Like, don't get it the wrong way or anything. I'm just trying to like improve the way you do it, because this is actually the way I do it too, and when I teach myself things. it's like, try to do it as well as you can first. Try it. Just try. That's what you need to do. That's the key word. Try doing what you're trying to do, or like try learning the piece. Okay? Try doing it yourself first. Then, if you run into problems, ask for help. Now, why? Is because if you ask before you've tried it, then you don't know what questions to ask, and the advice usually doesn't help as much. I find usually if I practice something a lot and I'm like, oh, I can't get it, and then someone says, just do this, and they say something really vague, it's like instantly I'm like, oh, that's right, it would work. Okay? So you do it like that, and boom, you've got the thing. But if you never try it, and you're like, oh, well, how do you do pedaling? But you've never really tried around with it or tried to master it yourself. Or if you have, you did it for like 2 minutes, and then you're like, I give up. Well, then my advice probably won't work too well, or any person's advice. The thing is, here's the thing. We're all creatures of habit, okay? All creatures of habit. So if the people that always ask keep asking, because it's going to be their habit to ask, chances are they're going to always be asking for the rest of their life. They're just going to keep asking. Ask and ask and ask and ask. They're going to ask first, do later. Okay? There's nothing wrong with getting a couple ground rules down or anything like that. But I mean, if people are always asking but never doing and then asking more, then you're not going to learn anything. If you do first and ask when you have to, when you really have to, then you ask. Like, don't get all like, oh, don't ask Andrew, he doesn't want you to. I'm fine with answering questions, but if you, like, the people that have put in the work first and tried everything that they can, those are the people that always get the results, I find. The people that ask, but they haven't really tried anything on their own, they're afraid to try, those are the people that usually don't succeed, okay? I'm not saying that they can't, but they'll need to change their mind frame, I think, a little bit. So what I tell my students is that are afraid to try something new, like a piece, I say, okay, what is the ultimate fail at something? Is it being afraid to try something? So we're like, oh, we won't try it. Let's not try it, because then if we don't try it, then we don't fail. Wrong. How long does it take you to do something if you never try it? Forever. My example is, if you are trying to read what middle C is on the sheet music, and someone takes 10 years of looking at it every day, trying to figure out what it is, and they can't, and they finally get it 10 years later, okay, finally, they're like eating cereal, and they're like, ooh, that's middle C, okay, they get that after 10 years, like obviously that's probably really long, but if you go and you try to find middle C on the piano, or you just give up, right? You just give up, or you just don't even try ever. You're like, oh, sheet music's too scary for me, kind of thing, right? So if you never find it, who's learnt middle C faster? Well, I think you guys know the answer to that. And for those of you that don't, it would be the person that took 10 years. So what I'm saying is that don't be afraid to try. Being afraid to try, being afraid to just take that leap and go for it, that's what'll get you success if you build step by step by step. Don't be afraid to fail. I fail like constantly. I'm like learning a new piece and I'm like fail, 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 fail. Sometimes, okay, don't tell anyone, but like sometimes with like grade 3 pieces or grade 4 pieces when I'm just sight reading them, I'm like, oh, mistake, fail, fail rhythmically, fail pedal markings, fail leaping, missing notes, like constantly. I mean, I make all kinds of mistakes all throughout the sight reading. Maybe not all condensed into one bar or anything, but I do make mistakes, and so, but that doesn't mean that I can't learn the piece. I can learn it. I mean, if I take maybe an hour or two, then I can learn it, but that's only because I've gotten to a certain level. But the thing is, if I was too afraid to make those mistakes for that grade 4 piece because I had too much of an ego or was like too insecure with myself, then I'd never get the grade 4 piece learned. See? Okay. So, there you go. That's some stuff. Now, I have other things to say as well. I know, big lesson. Okay, so all that other stuff was on mentality. So, what to think and how to get your brain in gear to teach yourself. Because it's not really an easy task. But it's actually very beneficial to know how because, well, sometimes you just have to. Like the first people that ever played piano or a musical instrument, like the first person to pick up, I don't know, say a hollow shell and blow into it and get a sound, and then eventually progress. They didn't have a teacher, so it's not impossible to learn something without a teacher. Okay? You don't always have to have the answer to be able to find out what the answer is. Sometimes it just takes a lot of diligence. Okay? But if you have the opportunity to get the answer, then go for it. Okay, anyway, so that's all passed. This is what I want to do next, is lay out some technical things. So, on the link on the sidebar, I am going to write, or not, is the sidebar this way or that way? It's this way. Oops. Okay, anyway, so sidebar is that way. If you read the description, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a list of pieces. Starting from the top is going to be beginner pieces, and I'm going to give you the names and the composers. Now I probably won't be able to find links for all the sheet music. Most of the sheet music that I have is bought and behind me, so it's all inaccessible. So I can't give you links. So what you'll have to do is look for those pieces, like you can find them on Amazon and buy them that way, or you could just learn them by ear, whatever you want to do. Or you can just, it's just an example piece, okay? And I'll give you a list of pieces, and I'm also going to give you a list of how to progress with finger patterns, or scales, blah, what am I talking about? So scales and finger patterns, like 5-note finger pattern scales on all the different things, and I'll put them all down on the sidebar. So I'll write pieces and repertoire, then technique, and then what to do for ear training, how to progress there, and then like how to learn chords and things like that. So I'll probably just divvy those things up into certain sections, and then try to give you an idea that way. So a lot of the things that you'll need to do are actually already in my videos. Most of the things are covered, so basically me saying off the list will probably just be a big review all in once. So, let's go. Okay, so with your scales, what you want to do is you want to start off with a 5-finger pattern. I'm just reading this off my notes because I can't remember everything. So, you'll start with a 5-finger pattern, then you're going to add a tuck later. So a 5-finger pattern is like this. Okay, so it's just 5 notes scale. Then you'll add a tuck later on. Then the scales will help your fingers move and increase brain function. Because when you first start, it's actually going to be a little bit hard to get your fingers to listen to you. So the more you use them, the more brain power will be devoted to being able to independently move them and have finger dexterity. So keep working at it. So one of the main things is once you get finger abilities, then you have a problem playing hands together. Okay? So this is actually to do with not being able to use both hands at once. Now this is probably the biggest problem that everyone has, that everyone talks about, is I can't play hands together. The thing is, they think that, oh, well, if I can play with my right hand and I can play with my left hand, why couldn't I just play with them both at the same time? That'd be great. And so would not having to pay taxes or, money, no money to pay for, everything is free. Okay, but we don't live in a perfect world, so sadly, you have to think of putting them hands together as learning a third hand, sort of. So you have to learn everything, how it correlates together. Now, some people can't do pieces because they have no hand independence. In other words, they can't do one pattern here while doing this. There we go. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. So, bouncing your right hand. So having staccato here, legato there, or doing 2 different rhythms or whatnot. So they have a problem with that, and here's how to fix it. the way to fix it is to get your hands doing two different things in a simple way. So how you do that is pretty easy. All you do is take maybe like a C major 5 pattern scale, and what you'll do is one hand will play staccato, one hand will play legato like that. Just like that. Then switch it around so that you're not used to just doing it one way all the time. Then do staccato left hand like this. Just like that. What else? Then you can do things like this. You can play a triad once you learn what triads are. You probably should know this by now, but if you haven't, go back to lesson 3, I think. Yeah, I don't know my own lessons where they correspond. I think it's lesson 3 though, pretty sure. Okay, so what you're going to do, right hand broken, so like this. I'm just taking a C major chord if you don't know that. So it's just a C major chord broken, and this one is going to be C major solid, so I'm like playing like this. Now the point of that is basically to get your brain thinking broken, solid, doing two different things. What you'll notice is that your brain starts to divide in two different ways, and you can feel two parts of your brain controlling each arm. Once you focus on that, then you'll start being able to control each arm independently. And you can get them doing two different things at once. Then it'll move on to getting fingers independently, so you can control each finger so that you can voice a melodic line or a chord so that one note is sticking out more than the others. But that is usually a couple years down the road. Okay, so back onto my list here. I'm going to try to be quick. So I wrote never give up, but I think I already covered that. Things will probably get harder. They will. So what you want to do is persevere, because things will get harder. As you go up, the pieces are going to get harder. You're going to feel like you're making less and less progress. But the thing is, the progress that you make will make you that much more skilled. It's sort of like when you have a car and it's completely covered in mud. You take a hose to it and you wash it off. You see a big difference right away, right? That's beginning to clean it. Now if you want to make it more clean than any other car, or very, very, very clean, you have to pay more attention, more time. So you might have to get out a hand thing and start going over it and getting off the more caked on mud. Then to get it really, like maybe get all the smudges out, or to make it reflective, you'll have to get out wax, and you'll have to do spots and go really attention to detail, and then use cleaners and all these other products to get it really, 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 really clean. So by the time you try to get it super clean, your effort level is going through the roof and you're getting less. So when you start playing piano, you'll get lots of results, very little effort. And then as you play longer and longer, it takes more effort and less result. Okay? But it doesn't mean that you're not doing anything. It just means that you've reached a pretty high level and that it's going to take longer to get better and better. But it doesn't mean that it's not worth it, because you're getting just that much better than other people, or being able to play things that much clearer. Okay, so don't give up, or when it gets harder, because it will. Let's see what else. Okay, things will probably get harder. Okay. Oh yeah, I already covered that. Oh yeah. Sorry, I don't know why. It's like -20 outside. It's like March, and we still have snowbanks that are like literally taller than me. Snowbanks that are like 10 feet high, just along the roads, and you're like, wow, why? Usually at this time, there's no snow anymore, but for some reason, winter isn't going away. Okay, so the other thing is we're going to play right hand, like 16th notes, and left hand 8th notes, okay? This is another hand separation thing. So you can play like that, and then you can reverse it. So if you're doing that, you'll have to move your left hand down so that it doesn't overlap. Because if you do this, see how it's catching up, and it go blah. Kind of like a wolf chasing a sheep, or a cheetah chasing a gazelle. Oh, he's gonna eat me for lunch. I'm just gonna hop away. Okay, but no, it's like this. Just like that. Okay, so that's the idea. You might have to go slow and practice it a bit. But yeah, okay, so those are those ideas, and I will post all the other things. So lastly, let's see what else, if I can see anything. I think I covered everything. Oh, one important thing. Okay, last thing. Okay, every second that you're at the piano, enjoy it. Okay, why are you even at the piano to begin with? It's because you want to have fun playing it, probably. Either that or your parents are forcing you. So, learn to enjoy it. Okay, so when you're at the piano, don't be rushing through things going, oh, I want to get so good so quickly, because all that's going to do is tensen you up and get you in a frame of mind that isn't able to absorb information in a good way. If you're having fun doing what you're doing, chances are you're going to actually probably retain more, the time will fly by faster, you'll be able to play more musically because there's a quote that the Professor V from YouTube, he teaches violin. And if you're looking to learn violin, he's the man to go to for sure. He's actually on my channel. I'm kind of like, sponsoring him on, not sponsoring, what's the word? Showcasing, maybe. That sounds too Broadway though. But on the left side, he's one of the top ones, and he's Professor V or something like that, or V Professor. I think it's Professor V. Anyway, he teaches piano, not piano, violin, just kind of like how I do. But yeah. Okay, anyway. So back to what I was saying is enjoy every minute or second or hour at the piano. It'll seriously make a huge difference. Your playing will just go way up. And why I brought him up in the first place is because I wanted to say the quote that he has on his website. It says, "Neither a lofty degree of intelligence nor creativity is the soul of a genius." No, no, no. The soul of a genius is love, love, love. It's true though. If you don't love the instrument you're playing, you don't love the music, then you're not going to show it in your performance, and the people that listen to you won't love it either. You see what I mean? You gotta love it. And if you love it, and you just enjoy every second, if you can just enjoy pushing the key down and getting a sound out of it, if you can enjoy that, and you can enjoy the sound out of every key, and the cool feelings you get, it'll make your experience so much better. Okay? Don't be afraid to take time and to practice little things and get good at them, like I was talking about with the Olympics. So isolate all those spots, break it up, and get really good at each one, and then link them together slowly. So, and last thing, play for your friends. They'll like it. You can use the easier pieces to also teach you things too. But don't let that substitute for sight reading and technique. Those things are very useful too. So I'll post all that in that way. I almost pointed this way again. Over there. Okay, thanks for watching piano lesson number 40. Now I hope you can use this information to better help yourself reach the goals that you want to in piano, and I guess you could also apply it to life too, or any other instrument. Sometimes not, but for most of the examples that I used, I'd say so. And yeah, so happy practicing, and I wish you guys lots of success. Take care. Bye-bye.